And Kristin Davis is joining us in the studio this evening. Thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me, Liz.
So you're official. You are now on the ballot. You are a candidate for governor.
I am. We've collected 22,000 valid voter signatures, filed with the Board of Elections, and I'm a legally certified candidate on the ballot November of this year.
How did that happen? I mean, you must have, you haven't raised very much money at all. So how did you manage to get that? That's actually not a few signatures. 15,000 is the limit.
I mean, it's a very difficult process. I'm sure, as you know, you're given a limited amount of time, between turning them into the attorneys. Roughly 30 days is what you're given in the hottest months of the summer to collect signatures, 100 of which have to be from half of the congressional districts. So you have to, be very organized, have amassed a huge team of volunteers, and really just have everyone working. I had people.
Where did you find them? Where did you find the people?
We did a recruitment drive on all the social networks. So I have, 10,000 Twitter followers and my Facebook fan page and my personal Facebook, and people volunteered certain days that they could do, and we went from there. Strangely, Mayor Jeff Graham from Watertown went on his own crusade.
He's a big fan of yours. He's a very big fan.
He is. He went on his own crusade, turned in a few hundred signatures, and so there were random people throughout the state who I didn't even know were helping that just sent signatures in because they believe in the issues. So it's been nice to see the support.
Do you think it's because of the issues or because you have a persona that people know who you are?
I don't think it's because of the persona. I'm not even sure if it's necessarily because of they believe in all of the issues. I think it's also just disenchantment with the current state of government, and they want to see somebody out there who can ask the real questions, who has nothing to lose, and who is honest. And there might be the misperception that I might not be honest, but what I did was actually a very honest business. It was money exchanged for a service. It was upfront. There was no deception about it, not like some of the politicians that we have now who are largely deceptive.
It just happens to be illegal.
Correct.
Is the problem.
Correct. Right. And I also, served my time for that crime, which is something that all of these other politicians, from the whole string of indictments from Hevesi to Montserrat to, Corbett, none of them have served a day in jail.
So no one actually challenged your petitions. So that you are effectively a third-party candidate, and you sort of readily admit that you're a protest candidate, that you're real. I mean, obviously, if you won, you would win and you would be governor, and you're prepared to do that, I would assume. I
am prepared to do that, and I am a protest candidate that's protesting, the hypocrisy in our government, the obscenely high income and property taxes, the inequality between the way men and women are treated under the law. I mean, all of these different things that need to be addressed. And, obviously winning is a huge long shot. Grassroots campaign that's underfunded, but it's not, stranger things have happened. So, I'm not giving up hope. We're all in it to win. We are all pushing forward, and we get more and more support each day.
There was this Time story, and I know we've actually spoken about it, that connected you via your consultant, Roger Stone, to Carl Palladino, the Tea Party candidate for governor, Tea Party Republican candidate for governor. And Roger Stone was actually on this show defending himself and saying that there is no collusion or connection. But cynical people would say, oh, the reason that you have a candidacy is to siphon off votes in some way and maybe to boost some other candidate. So what would you say to that?
Well, it's absolutely not true, number one. I didn't enter into politics to help another party. These would be things that were thought out long in advance, and that's just not the way this sort of worked. I entered into this because of the issues. I was given notoriety not by choice because I was arrested. And then what I chose to do with that is to pursue and advocate for causes that I care about rather than release my black book, which we've talked about. It's far more interesting to the public who's in there, who's paying for sex and the celebrities than minor party politics. This is not interesting. What's making this interesting is the notoriety behind what I used to do.
Why is it important then? There are so many causes that one could dedicate oneself to using the notoriety. Why would it be important to create a minor party? And even, in fact, earlier today you said even supplant the Independence Party, which is the largest minor party right now, which would require you to get more votes in your gubernatorial run than their candidate, and their candidate is Andrew Cuomo.
Very true. I mean, the importance of a third party, well, first of all, a lot of the third parties that are out there, including the independent party, are largely corrupt. The leaders of the parties are facing indictments. You know, they're not doing what they maybe initially set out to do anymore. They've, over the course of time, have corrupted themselves. They've entered into, you know, deals with special interests, and they're not helping the people anymore. So the point of having a third party, you know, voters don't really understand, a lot of them, is that with 50,000 votes in this gubernatorial election, this party that I'm creating will get permanent ballot status, which means for the next 4 years, we can run other candidates on any statewide office that can actually lobby for these issues. So the buck doesn't stop here. You know, supporting these issues means for 4 more years we have a chance on actually lobbying for them and actually passing bills, a marriage equality bill, and, you know, working towards ending the prohibition of marijuana. So it's very important to gain this ballot spot so that we can actually do these things.
One of the other things that you have talked about, aside, and just to go back for a second, regarding the inequality between men and women in politics, there's actually very few women who are running this year. You yourself, of course, there are a couple of minor party candidates, but there are right now 2 statewide candidates on the major party, Kirsten Gillibrand, who's running for Senate, and Kathleen Rice, who is running for Attorney General. She has said that she feels like Eliot Spitzer should have been prosecuted for being a John, for lack of a better. And you intimated back in the day that you might support her. And how do you feel about it now?
I mean, I definitely, at this point in time, I endorse her as a candidate. I think she should be Attorney General. You know, I think that I have to question why none of the other men would make that sort of statement. You know, because I find that politics, much like the business I was in before, which was actually finance prior to my running an agency, it's a boys' club and they all protect each other. And I think that's what we found. Spitzer didn't face charges because numerous different reasons. He could have been prosecuted by the state as well, but Morgenthau is his crony. So all of these boys protect each other, and ultimately the people of New York are the ones that are deceived. So for someone to come out on the record and stand up to a force like Spitzer, who's already proven, hey, I can be governor of this state and let down 18 million people and still not get charged with a crime, is a pretty courageous thing to do, I think.
And you haven't spoken to her, I'd assume.
No, I mean, I'm not quite sure how she'd feel about an endorsement from me. And I also don't base that on the fact that she's a woman. I just give her a lot of credit for having the courage to go up against the Spitzers, which includes their whole list of friends, Morgenthau and Cy Vance, who he was going to throw, you know, fundraisers for and endorse himself, you know, and for the fact she also is the only candidate who's been open about her past drug abuse. And I feel like it's refreshing to see somebody be honest to some extent.
Well, certainly you have never been dishonest. You've always been very upfront and out there, at least on this show. I want to thank you very much, Kristin Davis, for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.